Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for another show in association with Match Bingo. If you head to 1874.io/Match Bingo, you'll be able to buy bingo cards around all the sport and football that's on at the moment. If you buy 4, you get 1 free. It helps us as a channel as well. So even if you just sign up to Match Bingo, that's really, really appreciated by us. So head to 1874.io/Match Bingo and you'll be able to check out exactly what the guys there do. It's a good little app. It's a little bit of fun when the sport's on. Always gamble responsibly, but yeah, check it out if you want to help the channel. Now, I'm Dan Bardell, as you'll probably know, as you'll probably recognise by my dulcet tones, and it's the international break, isn't it? So it's tough for content. So I've been scouring around, seeing what other content creators of other clubs do, and my good friend, who's an Arsenal content creator, Harry Simeu, he asked for unpopular opinions around Arsenal. I know Claret and Blue have done this before as well. I think I might have even done it with Dan Rollinson before, but I put a tweet out and got 153 replies asking for your unpopular opinions around Aston Villa Football Club. Now, some people might be wondering, what's an unpopular opinion? So an unpopular opinion is a viewpoint that goes against the majority belief or popular opinion and is often expressed to spark discussion or debate. It is a candid statement that is not commonly heard or accepted and can be controversial or unexpected. So an example of an unpopular opinion might be that someone listens to all the Aston Villa podcasts that there are, and there's many of them, and someone thinks that Claret and Blue is better than 1874 Dan Rollinson. Now, that's an unpopular opinion, in my opinion, and that might be something that would be classed as an unpopular opinion. So now I've explained the brief, I've explained what an unpopular opinion is. Let's get into some of those replies. I have seen them come in, and let me tell you, there is some very, very unpopular opinions in there. I don't know whether you can have a bad opinion, but I think I did see a couple trickle through that might be classed as bad opinions in there. So I'm going to go through some of them. I'll go through as many as I can. Like I say, 153 is an awful lot. So let's get into it. Let's see your unpopular opinions. Danny DJ said, it's not my opinion at all, but the opinion of Brooke Waterfield. Claret and Blue is an absolutely heinous colour combination. It's giving Tesco carrier bag. That's, first off, a really bad opinion because I've never seen a Claret and Blue Tesco's carrier bag. We know full well who the Tesco carrier bags are in football terms. I think that's a really unpopular opinion because Claret and Blue, so unique. You can see the Ollie Watkins shirt hanging up behind me, and Adidas, by the way, have got the Claret absolutely spot on. It's a lovely colour combination. Not many teams have it. I know Burnley and West Ham copied us and they have it. But really, it's quite a unique colour combination. There's loads of reds. There's loads of blues. There's not many Claret and Blues. And Villa are certainly the best of the bunch where Claret and Blue is concerned. So I would say that's a very, very unpopular opinion. And the next one as well, these are at the top because I actually replied to them. They're so unpopular, in my opinion. Brett Wilson, AVFC, hang your head in shame, please. Rodgers needs a championship loan. Now part of me thinks surely that can't be serious, Brett, but I did ask for your unpopular opinions. I would say that the last thing Morgan Rodgers needs is a championship loan. This is a guy who will probably play for England tonight, played for England and scored on Thursday. He's probably PFA Young Player of the Year, for God's sake. This guy does not need a championship loan. He just needs a little bit of time, and he's a young player. He just needs to get back into form with Villa, and I'm confident that the international break will have done him some good, obviously scoring his first goal for England, and he'll come back for Villa absolutely firing. The signs were there in the last couple of games before the international break. So yes, that's classed as a very unpopular opinion. What have we got here? Oh, Kitula Farm. I like Kitula Farm, always replies to these kind of things on social media. Amadou Onana has the potential to be world class if he could keep fit. Now, people will think I don't like Amadou Onana because I've been a bit critical of him recently, because I've just said that for £50 million, I expect a little bit more from Villa's record signing. Potentially, could he be world class? He's a smart guy. He is a good footballer. He probably doesn't fit in the mould of footballer that I would say Emery stereotypically has in his midfield, but Emery must have signed him off to get him in. But I just think at the moment, probably everyone else at the club that can play central midfielder suits us a little bit more. But apparently he was good for Belgium last night. I didn't see any of the game. I saw the Northern Ireland Germany game. I didn't see the Belgium Wales game. But apparently he was good and made a lot of interceptions and closing down and whatnot, and that's fine. But Emery likes his midfielders to be in the mould of the other midfielders that we've got, a bit more technicians on the ball. So, world class. I'd say he's got the quality to be better than he is now, and he's a good midfielder, but world class. For a central midfielder, I don't think he's got enough on the ball to hit those heights for me. That's just my opinion, but that is your unpopular opinion, Kill Tula Farm, so you're entitled to it. That's absolutely fine. E&F, the Castor's training gear was better than the Adidas training gear. Now, the Kappa stuff used to be really tight. Couldn't get on with that. I was in good fettle when the Kappa gear was out as well, but it was, the sizing was all over the place, wasn't it? Castor got the sizing right, and I did think there was some decent gear there. The kit issue obviously really let them down, with Villa players looking like they were about to die when they were wearing the kit. I disagree with that. I think I disagree with that one. I've got some of the Adidas stuff. I do really like it. You could say the Adidas stuff's more generic because it's kind of shared with other teams that are Adidas, and I've seen like other teams training in the same kind of gear with the same colour scheme that Villa have. But I think Adidas is better than Castor. Ryan Blood says Onana is not worth 50 million, even when he is rarely fit. You've kind of covered that one there. Stevie Green. Ooh. Stevie Green might get some stick here, mate. I fear. He says, we talk about 1982 too much. Now, obviously, it was a very successful time for Villa 1982. Probably something that many of us, myself included, just turned 40, will never see in my life. I'll probably never see Villa win the European Cup. Not every English team has won the European Cup. Villa are in a select band there to have won the European Cup. So I think it's right to celebrate your achievements and celebrate your history, especially when it is something so unique and it's not something we've ever done since or before. Yeah, Forest, I think, probably celebrate their couple of cups. I think they've won it twice. They probably celebrate it as well. Yeah, you ask me to Chelsea fans. I know a lot of Chelsea fans who've won the Champions League in 2021. They go on about it all the time. You know, I disagree with that. I think our club is the heritage of it. It's just the go-to thing, and I think every club kind of has that go-to thing that they talk about their club. If you've won the European Cup, you're a huge club, you're a huge deal, and I think that's why we do it, because we have had hard times, and that's the problem. It's not really ever been followed up with any real success, and in recent times when we've been languishing in the Championship and struggling, I think it's something that we've always been able to kind of hang our hat on, just remind people who we are and what we're about and what Aston Villa can be. I think I probably disagree with that, Stevie Graham, but thank you ever so much anyway for sending that in. Stevie, forgive me, I can't remember what it's called, but he has got back on the podcast scene recently. I think I saw, so do check out Stevie Green XI on Twitter, and you'll get all the details around his podcast. Right, Algie says, Gabby Agbonlahore's record is unbelievable considering he was a winger for most of his career and surrounded by some absolutely horrific players. The difference when he had young Carew, Benteke and even Vyman showed. Happy birthday for yesterday, by the way, Gabby. Frightened that Gabby is a year younger than me. I did not realise that. I thought we were at the very least the same age, so I was horrified to learn that he's a year younger than me yesterday when it was his birthday. No, Gabby, see him obviously around TalkSport, great guy. You know, I think he'll admit himself he made mistakes when he was at Villa, but he held that record for a long, long time. And he did have some seasons that I think people forget about where he scored a lot of goals. That first season under Lambert when he was playing on the left-hand side. And he was in tandem with Benteke and Vyman. I think he scored 16 Premier League goals off the top of my head that season, and he was really, really good there. I think he did have some seasons like that. So I wouldn't go as far as to say his record was unbelievable, but I think he's had some underrated seasons. And you're right to point out, Algie, that when he was in a really good team, when he was with in the Martin O'Neill era, he did score goals playing in a 4-4-2. Him and Carew were a really great partnership up front. So I think there is some credit, some credence to be given to Algie's comments there. Dahlia McGuffey says, taking away opinion, sentiment, etc., just on pure face value, Grealish would have been absolutely perfect for this current squad and for the way we play. Now, Dahlia, named after Dahlia Atkinson, you will remember that I was quite a big cheerleader for Jack Grealish coming back in the summer. I was trying to manifest it. I was trying to make it happen. At the time, I spoke to people around Jack, and it didn't feel impossible from his point of view. The issue was the finances around the deal, and Villa's PSR issues probably killed any hope of that ever happening. Now, I think in a different world, Emery would have wanted Jack Grealish. I think if he could have done he'd have wanted him. People say about the Sancho loan, but Sancho's wages are a hell of a lot different to Jack Grealish. I think it really would have worked. I think it really would have worked under Unai Emery. I'm disappointed that he has gone to Everton. I'm a little bit envious watching him play for them because I think he would have been really good for us, but can look as well at that, like everyone that's here in the attacking positions, a lot of them want to play in that left 10 role anyway, which is where I think he would have played for us. But it would have been nice to see him and Rodgers linking up. And I think at the start of the season, when we were really struggling and the mood was low, if we'd have just managed to get that loan over the line, we'd have had a better start to the season, because I think that would have brought some feel good to the club. So I really, really think that, you know, there was a place for Jack back in this squad. It'll never happen now. He'll probably never come back to Villa. But I think there was a chance in the summer if Villa's financial situation and the constraints have been different, where there's a world where that actually would have happened and could have happened. Danny, and a lot of people came in with this one as well. Our atmosphere at Villa Park isn't as good as we kid ourselves most of the time. The odd game it pops off, but mostly it's a couple of chances at best. I thought it was good against Burnley, considering the profile of game. I thought it was a good atmosphere for 90 minutes there. Not like top draw, but I thought it was a brilliant atmosphere. And when the occasion's right, Bayern Munich at home, you know, PSG, the big games, the night games, the atmosphere of Villa is top draw. But I would agree that at least over 50% of the time, it's probably not what it should be. But I do think there's reasons for that. I do think there's people that try and get the chance going. I do think the landscape of football changing in terms of the personnel that actually come to games hasn't helped with this, and other clubs have suffered with this as well. That was particularly a thing for Villa, I think, last season. I think maybe this season you'll get more stereotypical Villa fans at the ground because we're not in the Champions League. Probably the corporate offerings aren't being taken up as much. I think you'll probably hear more from like the stereotypical brand of Villa fan, I would say. But I would agree that it's not what it should be, at least 50% of the time, Danny. Bedford Danny, or Wiltshire Danny, as I think she likes to be known now. And this is a really good one. Alex Berwick, who I say every time I mention his name, one of the best Villa accounts you can follow on Twitter. How he's not doing a podcast of some sort. He's obviously got no interest in it, but his opinions and his threads and everything he always does are always bang on, in my opinion. Your opinions are never unpopular with me, Alex. He says, Ezri Konsa is way better than Mellberg and Larson. Now, I've thought about this. It's probably the one I did see come in that I've thought about the most. Now, I'm guilty of not underrating Ezri Konsa, but underpraising him, I think, because he's pretty consistent. He's probably Villa's most consistent player, in my opinion. So I think I undervalue him at times, not intentionally. There was a time under Gerrard where I thought he was struggling and I thought he needed taking out. But certainly since Emery's come in, he's rarely had a bad game. He's so consistent. Obviously now one of the first choice centre-backs for England. He's in the top 3 centre-backs for England. You know, I think he'll probably play a lot of games in the World Cup. Ezri Konsa, and of course played right back last week. Top player. Football was a bit different back then when Larson and Mellberg were playing, so they'd struggle with being a ball-playing centre. I think Larson was okay, but Mellberg certainly would have struggled with being a ball-playing centre-half. Mellberg had to play a lot of games at right back as well. I think you've seen with Ezri himself, when he has to play there, it's not always plain sailing as well. So I think Mellberg deserves some credit for that. They're both club legends, in my opinion. Maybe when Konsa leaves, the day he leaves, and this is when I always find it easier to look at what a player's done, when I know everything they've done and they leave. And Konsa's been at Villa a long time, by the way, 5-6 seasons. I think he should be held in the same regard, would be my opinion. So, yeah, I think I agree with that, Alex Berwick. So, well done for that. Oakley Dokley dare to delve into PSR land. I said, PSR isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just poorly managed at the moment and should rise in line with inflation. Now, there's a lot of more smart people than me, even though I've just said more smart is probably not right, who would be able to come up with a better concept of PSR than me. But I think what Oakley Dokley says is fair there. It's outdated. The way they're trying to do it doesn't work. I think it can work. It is a good thing. It is needed as well, some form of kind of regulation. But the way they're currently doing it isn't good. So yeah, I would agree with that. Keith Campbell says Paul Lambert, I said his name weird there, Paul Lambert doesn't get enough credit for keeping the club treading water with the chairman in full retreat. Paul Lambert, what a time. Good players in the Paul Lambert era, to be fair, that I did like, but mainly we were very reliant on Benteke. I would probably swivel that and say Christian Benteke probably doesn't get enough credit for keeping the club treading water with the chairman in full retreat. Because if Lambert hadn't have had Benteke, we would not have stayed up for any of the 3 seasons that Lambert was there, in my opinion. I think he had a really, really hard job. I think he didn't help himself at times. I actually really liked him when he was manager in the first kind of year and a half, and then I kind of lost it with him. Certainly in his last 6 months, I'd had enough of him. He got given a new contract bizarrely as well when we got off to a flying start, didn't he? But I think he probably had his hands tied. I think there's probably a lot of stuff we don't know that went on during that time. In fact, speaking to people, I know that that's true. I don't know what the stuff is, but I know there was a lot happening behind the scenes that we didn't get wind of. But I think he let himself down towards the end. And when you go in 6-7 games without scoring or whatever it was, that's a big problem. The bomb squad might not have been his decision, but having those players on huge wages, but making them be part of the bomb squad when they'd have been perfectly fine to be on the bench when we had some mediocre players at the time. We were paying them anyway. I don't know whose decision that was, whether that came from the chairman or whether that came from Paul Lambert. I agree to some extent, but I think if he hadn't have had Benteke, he'd have been in big, big trouble. Jim says Rodgers will leave in the summer and we've already signed his replacement. Now, the second part of that, I'm not sure who you're alluding to there, Jim. I don't know if it's Elliot maybe, or I don't know. Not sure, actually, who his replacement would be. I think he probably will leave in the summer as well. I don't want to go too much into it, but I think this will be the last season that we see Morgan Rodgers as well. I know he's due to sign a new contract soon. I think Villa are doing that to protect themselves and reward him as much as anything, but I would probably go along with that this might be Morgan Rodgers' last season for Villa. Giannis says Marlon and Watkins will flourish if they play together as a strike partnership. Yep, we saw that at the weekend. Webby 19, I don't think that's unpopular. I'd say that's not an unpopular opinion. Webby 1982 says McGinn doesn't make my starting 11 if everyone is fit. Now, I would always find somewhere for McGinn to go because I think he's that important and he's so versatile that he can pretty much play anywhere in the kind of positions off the striker, and he can play obviously as a 6 and 8 if we needed him to as well. I would always find somewhere for John McGinn because I think when John McGinn plays well, Villa play well, would be my general feeling on it. I think he's really important, the intangibles as well on the pitch, but yeah, it's an unpopular opinion. I asked for it and you've delivered. Behind the curtain says we will never be an elite club revenue-wise whilst we stay at Villa Park. Well, I'd hate to move and I wouldn't want to move. I don't think we can ever be an elite club anyway unless the rules change that enable us to do what Chelsea, Man City did and spend a load of money, and then you get the kind of following from overseas that turns you into that global beast. I just think the way the Premier League, UEFA, the way everything's set up at the moment, whether we play at Villa Park or not, I just think the rules aren't built for us to get there. It's not right. So, yeah, I get it though. I do get it. Gabe Gray says, selling Ramsey, whilst upsetting the dressing room for a while, as a player, he isn't the loss it was made out to be. Was never going to be a regular starter due to inconsistent form and injuries. If he wasn't one of us, would we rate him as much? Doubt it. I actually said when he left that, numbers-wise, actually Leon Bailey was more of a loss and people didn't like Leon Bailey, but because of who Ramsey is and what he has done in the past, I think maybe we held him in higher regard. So I think that is an unpopular opinion. I agree with most of what you've said. I really liked Jacob Ramsey and I pined for the day when he would get fit again and be like he was in Emery's first half of season where he was absolutely fantastic. In fact, arguably our best player at that time, but we never really saw that again because of the factors that Gabe Gray says there. So probably quite unpopular, but I think I agree with that as well. I'm agreeing with more than I thought I would here, in fairness. Johnny Edwards says, Unai Emery needs to win a trophy this season or next for him to be considered a great. If he leaves without a trophy, his tenure will ultimately be a failure. Martin O'Neill, we finished 6th 3 times in a row, got to cup finals, didn't win them, cup semis, didn't win them. His time now, and we didn't qualify for the Champions League, is probably looked upon as a failure, even though we were good. Now, Emery got us into the Champions League, so I don't think it will ever be looked at as a failure. And being in Europe 3 years running when a club hasn't been in Europe for so long, I don't think it could ever be looked at as a failure. I just think a trophy would top it off, and I hope to God that he wins a trophy before the day he leaves us, Unai Emery, and I'm sure he'll want to as well. And this, could this season be the season with the Europa League or maybe the FA Cup as well? Obviously, we've blown the Carabao. I see what you're getting at, but I don't think I agree with it. Nathan Muttock, along the same vein, says, love Emery, but think it'll go sour, as I believe clubs are beginning to work us out on how we play. Hope this isn't the case, however. Very one-dimensional method of playing. Now, we saw him freshen things up last time out against Burnley. That might be something that we see moving forward. The amount of games we've won under Unai, his record, his win percentage, the speed in which he got to 80 wins, I don't think, you could ever say that, because we've just won so many games, and I think we'll continue to win games as well. I think we're starting to click now. I think maybe we have even clicked. So again, take the point, but I don't think I agree with that. Board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Must be watching Claret and Blue podcast with Dan Rollinson. I am only joking, by the way, before people come and hammer me. When Rollo watches this, he'll find what I've said quite funny, quite amusing, I'm sure. Onana should be playing further forward. He isn't press resistant and doesn't have a huge passing range, but he's excellent driving with the ball and has an eye for goal. 6'5", late runs into the box, could be deadly. I think he did that a few times for Everton. Him and Decore kind of worked separately in doing that. Took it in turns to make those runs. I remember him scoring a winner off a set piece against Arsenal, I think it was, under Sean Dyche when they were struggling. There's merit in that, but again, him as a 10 doesn't really suit what Villa do. McGinn can kind of do that, and he's got a bit more about his game, in my opinion, in terms of being a technician. I sound like Tim Sherwood saying technician. I get it. Again, I get it. There's merit to it. I don't fully agree with it. I don't know whether it would be an unpopular opinion either. Jamie says, we've done Cash to death, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this. Cash is really good at doing what Emery wants out of the right back position. I'd agree with that, but it's an unpopular opinion. Ghost of Here says, very unpopular, but we should have cashed in on Watkins when we could have upgraded to a Mateta kind of striker. We've been missing a natural goal scorer for a while. I think the cashing in ship has sailed now, though. I don't really care that he runs a lot. I want goals. Now, everyone knows that I'm going to defend Ollie Watkins because it's what I do best. It's what I'm here to do. I love Ollie Watkins. I think he is seriously undervalued with what he's given this football club. His goal record Premier League goal scorer now, of course, as well. His goal record, you could argue that we could have had strikers that would have got more, but generally since Emery's been here, his goal record has been absolutely sensational. It's his assists as well. He needs to get cooking this season, of course, otherwise the questions will be asked if his form carries on much longer. This feels like a longer run of kind of off form. He may have hurt himself on England duty as well, so we don't know whether we'll see him at the weekend. I don't think that would even be an unpopular opinion, though. I think that would probably be a popular opinion. I think I'm the one that carries the unpopular opinion around Watkins, but because I think people do want a new striker, but I maintain at the level Villa are at, it's hard to just go and get a sure thing that's going to deliver you more than Ollie Watkins. I'm not sure it's out there. It might be. I know who I thought it was, but he's going to Chelsea, so that's not going to happen anymore. But yeah, I think I'm probably the one that holds the unpopular opinion around Ollie Watkins. James up north says, Steve Bruce was exactly the boss we needed at the time, brought the dressing room together and laid the foundations for Dino to recover the pride and identity we'd lacked for years. Now, Bruce needed to go when he probably should have gone, when we didn't make it up given the kind of finance that Villa had thrown at getting back into the Premier League at the time. But if you speak to players from that time, and I know a few of them, they'll all say the same thing. Bruce was a good manager for Villa. That season with Snodgrass, Sam Johnston, Chester, John Terry, Lewis Grabban, all that. Like, that was a good dressing room, and Bruce brought that together and made it the dressing room it was. Villa had struggled the season before. He was part of that, of course, taking over from Roberto Di Matteo. But he did bring some unity back to the club, and then Dino came in and finished off the job with a lot of his players. I would agree with that, but I think it probably does go down as an unpopular opinion as well. David Villa running on says, Unai has shown what he can do with inherited players, so he should listen to the data analysts more. More unpopular, the team deserve immense credit for turning things around. A way to go still, but great character. Jacob and I often talk about the data side of things and Unai's choosing of players, but yeah, interesting stuff. Russell Hancock's Dink Concert is severely underrated. Don't think that's an unpopular opinion either. James Phillips says, club doesn't do enough for international-based fans. Now, I'm not going to get on my hobby horse here. I don't think the club does enough for fans in general, just my opinion, and people will know that I've had gripes with the ticket pricing and certain things around the club at times in the last couple of years, and I've been very vocal about that. I think the club could be doing more for fans in general, not just international fans. I'm not an international fan, so forgive me, I don't know what it is that people think that they should be doing for international fans. I'm not sure what the streaming service is like, for example, because I don't use it. But I would say there's something in that in general, I don't think the club does enough for fans. Paul says it's impossible to make a good Villa home shirt. It's not the manufacturer's fault. It's the colours. No. Because when the claret is right, like it is behind me on this Adidas shirt and the Adidas shirt last season, and Luke Roper, they're nice shirts. I'm not buying into that. I didn't realise people had gripes with the claret and blue colour scheme. Very surprised to hear that. Stuart Morton says it's ridiculous the amount of fans who leave early from Villa Park on a match day. No, I'm never going to criticise a match-going fan for doing what they choose to do. It's difficult, isn't it? It's really hard. People need to get home and whatnot. People find it difficult with mobility to get home and things like that. And getting out of Villa Park is a nightmare. So if Villa Park was easier to navigate, I would probably take that on board. But I think because it's such a difficult place to get out of, it takes so long to get home. I'm not going to criticise anyone for making that decision. Josh Dodd says Sancho won't play for us again this season. What do you know, Josh Dodd? Do you know something? I'm not sure. Let's say I think our cards on the table. I think Sancho will play for Villa again this season. Richard Dalloway says Olof Mellberg was better than Paul McGrath. Absolutely not. That's a very, very unpopular opinion. Bill Atherton says Dougie Luiz is/was as good as Tielemans. I think they're different. I think Tielemans is a better natural footballer, but I do think they're similar in terms of level, in terms of what Tielemans did last season and what Dougie did for Villa over the last couple of seasons. But Tielemans is just one of my favourite players that we've had in my life. I absolutely love what he can do as a footballer. Aaron says that every week song is becoming nauseating. Yep. No, we haven't got many good chants. People have spoken about the chants here quite a lot. We struggle for chants, don't we? But I don't know whether that would be classed as an unpopular opinion. A lot of these are probably quite similar to what we've already covered. Dog Whiskey Football says Unai's football is often dull to watch. We've been treated to some unbelievable football since Unai's come in. Football that I've never seen before. I don't think I can go along with that. JS says Luke Kitty is ridiculously overrated just because he's a Villa fan. No, you naughty JS. I'm not having that. I've just praised it, so I can't possibly be agreeing with that. Harry Harris, Olof Mellberg was very overrated. I'm just kind of rattling through these now because it's been half an hour, and as I say, a lot of them are very similar. Juan Pablo Angel, not the Juan Pablo Angel, says we should have kept John Duran at all costs. We just couldn't. That just wasn't something that we could do for financial reasons, and the fact the guy was an absolute loose cannon and a nightmare and was just causing a lot of damage in literal terms and whatever the opposite of literal terms is. I think that is it. Yeah. I'm gonna wrap it up there. Oh no, we've got a belter to finish, the last one at the bottom of the list. Delph isn't a snake and did right by us in signing a new contract to ensure we got back what we paid for him. Could have left on a free instead. A little bit of merit in what you're saying, but the way he did it, said he was staying, going. You can't do that. I actually like him as a person and as a player. I liked him as well, but you can't forgive him for the way he left Villa. I think time is a healer. I noticed he was doing some punditry the other day for City. I think it was Fabian Delph. I think he'd be an absolutely outstanding pundit, by the way, and he's a good player. Went on to be a regular for England and playing tournaments and whatnot for England. But the way he left us absolutely killed us. And before the season had even started, I think that players were obviously leaving us under Tim at that time, but he absolutely killed us the way Delph went about it and the way he went to Manchester City. Stupid from the club as well, the way they handled it at the time. But I don't think I can go along with that. So everyone, thank you so much for sending all those in. We've done half an hour's worth there. Thank you for sending in your unpopular Aston Villa opinions. We'll do some more stuff like this in the next international break, of course. If you've watched this via YouTube, then please subscribe with your post notifications on. And if you've listened via Apple or Spotify, give us 5-star reviews, subscribe on there as well. Leave us a nice comment, leave us a nice review. All that stuff is appreciated. Let's get the subscriber numbers up throughout. That's really, really important. Don't forget to check out Match Bingo. buymeacoffee.com/Dan Bardell if you want to help the channel out as well. You don't have to, but the option is there if you would like to visit buymeacoffee.com/Dan Bardell. The option's there to donate and support the channel. I struggle to say that for some reason, which isn't very helpful. I've tried to record this in a different way, so God knows whether it's worked or not. I don't think I had my microphone on for the first 10 minutes, but hopefully that hasn't made a difference. Plenty of content coming up through the week. We've got all the match preview stuff with Stato and then Dave Reed as well. And then, of course, there'll be match reaction on Sunday straight after the Tottenham game. So plenty of content coming up on the channel all through the week. We try and go pretty much daily, but it is harder in the international break. Not sure when this is coming out, but I'm on TalkSport 2, 3 till 5 with Flex if you want to tune in and listen to me speak on there. I'm sure there'll be some Villa chat on there because there always is. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and as ever, up the Villa.